Hello, everyone, and welcome to Packages. So, this will be pretty quick. There's not a whole lot to it. Packages are how things are grouped. Different classes are grouped in JavaScript, in Java. Off to a great start so far. Packages are how classes are grouped in Java. Main reason that we put things in packages is, well, who can tell me? It was in the reading.
Isn't it to help with the naming so you don't name things similarly?
Yep. So you don't name things the same. Because we could be using libraries. We could have 500 people writing classes for this. What if they what if they both use the same class and call it user? So you could either enforce a stupid naming convention for all of your classes that's like Kyle Coberly user. It's stupid. So stupid. So, or you could say like, no, I get to have a user, and this library I installed gets to have a user, and somebody on the other side of the company gets to have a user, as long as it's unique within the package. So a related concept is namespacing, which is effectively how we're solving this problem. Namespacing is creating a space for names. So if I have some package dot user, none of the classes in there, actually let me dot user, that does not conflict with some other package dot user. Both of those classes can use that name because they are namespaced apart from each other. Now, you couldn't do this in the same file. So like if the same class needed both of these, we'd have to use whatever the Java convention is for renaming a package when you import it. JavaScript has the same thing. It's rare that you would need two classes in the same file that have the same name. Doesn't happen that much. So some rules. Actually, I don't know if this is a rule. It might be a configuration thing or a convention or something like that. But regardless, it's something you should do, so who cares? Packages map to folders directly. So like if I have some package.user, I'm expecting that to be in a folder called some package. And since classes are supposed to have the same name as their file name, that would be like /user.java. And this one would be some other package, all lowercase. .user.java. So we can see how this like folder structure really helps us with this also. Because like we can't have two files in the same folder that have the same name. So we already get uniqueness just based on that. And this is how Java is going to like figure out where these classes are when we import them. Questions so far? Hit me. Cool. Let's see this in action. All right, nothing up this sleeve. Nothing up this sleeve. Feel free to follow along. So if I make, I'm gonna make a hello world app.java. And inside of my hello world app.java file, I'm going to do, this is going to be my entry point. So I'm going to make a public class. It needs to have the same name as the file. And it's going to have one method, a public static method that doesn't return anything, called main, that takes in an array of strings called args. All right, so to just sanity check ourselves that this works, we can do system.out.println hello world. So if I did all that correctly, and I feel pretty good that I did, I can Java C all these Java files, and then Java hello world app. And see that come back on the screen. Questions so far? All right, now let's make another class that's going to handle generating this message. So we're going to call it message.java. So right now, that's what we got. Our hello world app.java, our message.java. So over here, I'm going to make a public class called message. And it's going to have a constructor that takes in a message, saves it. And it's going to have a getMessage method that returns it. So we'll say that it's a string called message, private. And it's going to have a public constructor. Remember, constructors in Java don't use the constructor keyword. It's the same name as the class. It's going to take in a string called, spoiler alert, message. And then we're going to assign it. Cool. So, why do I have to use this here? Did I tell you guys that you don't have to use this in Java classes?
Because oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Parno.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go. It's because message is I guess a property of the class, like uppercase M message, and so you have to use this dot message to reference the actual property of it, as opposed, and if you didn't, you would just be assigning your input to your input, would you not?
Yeah. It's because they have the same name. If they didn't, that's not a problem. If I made this M, I can make that M, and then this can just be message. That's the same code. But since they have the same name, the this differentiates the instance variable from the local variable.
To save ourselves time, should we just call it fart? I mean,
yeah, let's go ahead and save ourselves a little bit of time here. Come on, folks, we got to move this thing along. just call it fart. So that's how that works. So then this thing is going to have a public getMessage method that returns. It can either return message, because there is no, oops, tell it what the return type is. So I can either return message because I don't have a local variable named message anymore. I could also return this dot message. That's the exact same thing. And there's our message class. Last step before we packageify this, we're going to make a new message. Oh, come on, dude. What language are you in? I'm going to make a new message. I'll make sure that it worked. And then we can print message to string. Or not to string. Get message. All right, if I did that correct, I can compile it and see goodbye land print. Compiled, executed. Okay, everything we've done so far is just like basic Java stuff. Questions so far?
Can I see your hello world again, real quick? Your hello world Java. Oh, you just did message.getMessage. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Oh man, pro tip. Message.getMessage, that sounds weird. I don't like that. So maybe like the message is the object, the stuff I'm storing in is the content. All right, I want to rename it now. I don't know what the key command is for this on VS Code. I promise it's there though. Something you can do in statically typed languages. So we can do this in Java, we can do it in TypeScript, cannot do it in CSS, can't do it in JavaScript, is we can rename things. So I can say in Vim it's leader RN for rename, and then I can give this a new name. Watch line 9 when I do this. So I'm going to change that to content. Change that and that for me. It looks through all of your code and finds everything that's pointing to the same variable. It's like a bulk rename. It's fucking awesome. Highly recommend it. Or,
It's F2 in VS Code, F2.
F2, beautiful.
Mhm.
So like I can do it with this one too, and I can say I want to rename this to get content, and it's already changed over here. That can allow you to be a lot more fearless about playing with different names. Other questions so far? All right. Now let's start putting this in packages. So the most common format for packages in Java is what we call reverse domain format. So this is how you say, well, this is my code, or this is our company's code. So I could do, so you take the domain of the organization, like the web domain, and then you reverse it. So all of the packages that I write should go in com.sika education. If you're just doing personal stuff, like it doesn't actually resolve to an actual URL or anything. You could do com.seancannon, and even if you don't have seancannon.com, who cares? You're just trying to not collide with another library that somebody else makes. All right, so let's say that I put this in com.seek education. I'm going to put this, I'm going to make the message in there. So I'll say package com.sika education. So it says, hey, you said that this is in com.sika education, but it doesn't match the expected package. Who can tell me why the expected package is nothing?
You haven't imported anything yet?
Not quite yet.
It has to be the same name as the file path.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to look for this file in a folder called com, which has a folder called Sika Education in it. So if I go, come on, stop it. Why won't it? There, and oops, that's why. Okay, so this is still what this looks like. If I do McDur com and then McDur com/Sika education, and then I move that message file in there, all right, now let's see what it thinks. It's not that. Hey, weird, it's not mad at me anymore. But if we go back to the hello world, what's a message? Now it doesn't know what that is anymore. So to fix that, we can do import com.sikaeducation.message. Now it can find it. I imported the message class from the com.sikaeducation package. Defined the package, imported the class from the package. I can have more than one class in a package. Those are just files in the folder. All right, moment of truth. Does it still work? Pew pew. Notice that it moved the message class file into this package. All a package is a collection of class files. So I can get rid of that other one. Make the tree look like that. So we can use this to clean up our code a little bit. In practice, when we're like building an API or something, it ends up looking like this. Okay, so this is the example app in the Spring Boot section. So that's the whole thing. The important part is this. That I have a source and a main and a Java thing. This is like the base of where it looks for these files. So it's going to look for com, Sika Education. The name of the app is like the top level package. And then there's a dog package inside of that. And there's an exception package inside of that. The dog package has 4 classes in it. The exception package has 1 class in it. So when we take a look at something like the controller, some of these, like, they're not local. Like, the tool that I'm using, which is Maven, has a way to look up where these things are. This is like the equivalent of like import or require in TypeScript. And Maven is the equivalent of like NPM. So just like we can import something that isn't one of our files by not starting it with a dot or a dot dot, same sort of thing in Java. Stuff that's built into the language but isn't automatically imported. Collections. Map and hash map are both collections. You don't get them for free. You have to tell it that you're using them. But they are built into the language. Hey, look! That says it's in the com folder, which has a Seek Education folder, which has a Barkwire folder, which has a dog folder. And that's the path to this file. Same thing there. That's packages. Ask me some questions about them.
So when you're, I guess, going through and creating something like this, do you start with the packages first?
It's a great
Is that-
question. So
it
when
could
you're
get a
doing
little
like a
confusing.
Spring Boot app, you get a huge scaffold of this already. So like if I make a new Spring Boot app, let me look up the command for it. Oops. Gem file? What do I look like? Fail. Hang on. This is actually that same thing as when like John blew out his path variable and had to like do everything by hand. So this one will be user local bin. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I have this some app, Spring Boot app that I scaffolded. This is just like ng new in Angular. So I go over to some app. It already scaffolded out like a ton of this. So like that's my entry point right there. It already gave me all of this. So then what I would do is I go, oh, I want to make something. Well, in Spring Boot, like when you make a resource, you're making a model for it, a controller for it, a service for it, and a repository for it. Kind of makes sense to keep all of those in the same package. So then you would make a new folder, which means that you're also kind of making a new package. You'd make those 4 files that go in there, and you'd set them all to that package. Things that are in the same package can see each other. That's why when we weren't using any package before, our Hello World app class and our message class could see each other because they were both in the default package, which is just whatever it is if you're not declaring one. In Barkwire, this like all 4 of these can see each other. You don't need to import them within each other because they're all in the same package. So like even though this dog controller uses the dog service, it doesn't actually import it anywhere in here. You could, like it doesn't hurt anything to do that. Be like import com.seekaeducation.barkwire dot dog dot dog service. So I can do that. It's just not necessary because they're in the same package already. More questions about packages?
Just real quick, can I see where you did the import into the hello world?
Yeah.
I think I might have just gotten the syntax wrong here.
So the package is com.seeka education. The specific class we're importing is message. Now, like, I would be remiss not to tell you that you can import everything from a package by doing this. It's kind of a no-no. It's just bad style. But you can also do that. One other thing worth noting, packages are like that specific folder, not any child folders. That's like a little counterintuitive because it seems like it's a hierarchy. So if I import com.seekeducation.barkwire.all, I get all of those like child folders also. Not how it works. It's just that actual folder.
Can I see your message?
Totally.
Java file too. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So yeah, when you declare a package, you don't need to also put the class on it. It'll figure that out.
Would we be able to see you just even on this file right here, import a collection and utilize it?
Gasp! Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
So, let's do a... So, all of the collections are in java.util. Let's do, like, array list. Oop, it's not the package. Come on, man. Okay, so I've imported array list. Maybe I make another method on here that's like public make an array list. And so this will do something like declare an array list. Like that. Array. Now, I have it return nothing. Oh, and it needs to know what I want it to be an array list of. So I can say like, it's an array list of strings. And then I can head over to the docs for that, which are Java util array list. And you go, all right, what methods does this thing have? A, add. So I could say, I want to take some array list and add hello, and then world. All right, so I've added 2 strings to this array list. Then do array lists have a join method? Maybe. Does not look like it. Cool. So let's, since collections can use streams, This is like previewing the collections lesson a little bit, but I can do some array list dot stream, and then I can do like the JavaScript style functional programming stuff. So I can say like for each string, and then I want it to system.out.println string. Like that. All right, let's see if that works. So this is the make an array list method over here. So if I do make an array list, why is it mad about this? Oh, it got something back and it doesn't like that. Does it say it was a Boolean? All right, cool. So let's see if it compiles. So good so far. And if I run it, hey, look, it printed out each of the parts of my thing. And the return value of the method. But yeah, there you go. There's a quick hit on collections.
Awesome, thank you.
So to recap, we had to import the particular collection that we wanted to use. We had to initialize it. We had to tell it what data type goes in the collection. Add is like kind of like push. What you'll notice is that different collections have different names for those things because they're different operations. So push is something that you do with a stack. Add is something you do with a list. And queue is something that you do with a queue. All those are different types of collections, so they have different terms. A hash map you put. That's like the equivalent of an object in JavaScript. So then we add those things into the array list. We turn the array list into a stream, which allows us to call functional style methods. Functions. These are called lambdas. They work just like fat arrow functions in JavaScript. They're like way new, not way. They're new for how slow the Java world seems to move. They're like 5 or 6 years old, I think. Yeah, this is like taking the Java world by storm. They can finally do the shit that we've been doing for years. Cool. Anything else? Anything else you want to know about packages? I hope this is helpful.